Chapter 6. Anthem for Xemnas. As the heart commands, I act as my heart commands, and as yours commands, even though I am a nobody. I have no heart. Then what is it that drives me? I don't know. But even so, there's something in me, something like a heart, for me to follow. It doesn't matter that I lack a heart. All my memories with all of you, and your hearts that touched my emptiness. That touch is what guides me. Isn't that right, Axel? Step by step, Sora climbed up the stairway to the heights of the castle. He had Riku beside him. Right behind him were Kairi and King Mickey, followed by the friends who had traveled with him all this time, Donald and Goofy. There's no way we could lose, and we're not going to, because everyone's here together. My friends are here with me. The light was gone. Kingdom Hearts awaited them, tainted with darkness, eerie indigo and black. On the highest level, a strange open space like an altar. Xemnas was there, gazing up at the tainted moon.
Ah, my Kingdom Hearts. Ruined. I'll have to start all over again.
He murmured to no one, but then he turned to them.
Warriors of the Keyblade, go forth and bring me more hearts.
It was more of an entreaty than an order. Either way, Sora, Riku, and King Mickey all raised their Keyblades at once and refused. No! Xemnas regarded the Keyblades pointed at him and shrugged.
Denizens of light, why do you hate the darkness?
We don't hate it, said the king. It's just that darkness is kind of scary. But it's part of everything. All the worlds are made of light and darkness. You can't have one without the other. Sorta makes you wonder why we are scared of it. As if the question had just occurred to him, he looked down and thought. It's not that we hate the darkness for existing. There's good in it too. Like the peace of nightfall gently puts us to sleep, and all the stars in the night sky. They need the dark to sparkle and shine. But still, the darkness can be so frightening. It's because of what lurks inside it, Riku replied. Riku knew better than anyone the terror of the dark, and the pain of those corrupted by it. Terrible things lurk there in the dark, evil things. Things to lure you in with kind whispers and draw you astray. And then, before you know it, darkness is stealing sweetly into your heart. That's why we fear it. And light cuts through the darkness. Light destroys it. Well, no. Darkness is never destroyed. It just remains at the other side of light, quietly, and it's there to make the light brighter. Light shines even more powerfully because there is darkness in the world, while the things that lurk in the dark fear the light, and they'll hide from it. Darkness didn't come first. Light came first. I think the darkness came into being because of the light. That's the feeling I get when I look at Sora.
Then allow me another question,
said Xemnas.
You accept the darkness, yet you choose to live in the light. Why is it that you so despise those of us whose very being is projected by both? Those of us given no choice, destined only to fade into nothing.
That's simple, Riku said flatly. It's because you mess up our worlds. Light, darkness, nobody, none of that matters. We just can't look the other way when someone is wreaking havoc and hurting people we care about.
And what other choice do you suppose we had?
There was a hint of sadness in Xemnas' words. At that, Sora lost his patience. You're not fooling anybody, Xemnas. You don't feel sad about anything. All you do is throw around the power of darkness and use it to hurt people. Xemnas let out a cruel laugh.
Ah, nothing gets by you. It's true, I cannot feel sorrow. No matter what misery befalls the worlds, no matter what you think or whether you live.
Then he lifted his hands toward Kingdom Hearts again. Sparks of light, perhaps the scattering hearts, rose into the sky. Sora squeezed his eyes shut against the surge of brilliance, and he was standing in front of a massive skyscraper, and he couldn't find the others. Hey, guys? There was only Xemnas standing in front of him. What did you do with my friends? Sora demanded.
You'd do better to worry about yourself, hero of light.
Xemnas rushed him. Sora brought up the Keyblade to block the incoming blow and countered, knocking him away, then swung again. But in the instant he was out of range, Xemnas vanished. Where are you? Sora could feel Xemnas' presence from high above, atop the skyscraper. He took an enormous leap and hit the side of the building running. As he sped upward, a red glow caught his eyes. Twin swords. The ethereal blades in Xemnas' hands as their owner hurtled down at him in an attack aided by gravity. Huh? Did I fight someone before like this? The strike as Xemnas swished past him drove the brief flash of deja vu from his mind. Sora reached the ground again close behind Xemnas, who leaped back to take stock of the situation. This is it for you! Sora charged straight at him. Xemnas sent his blades spinning around Sora, and the boy didn't escape unscathed. He didn't feel all that confident fighting alone, but he'd be okay. He knew everyone was with him. They're with me in my heart. Sora lifted the Keyblade. There was a terrific clang, and Xemnas stepped back. He was smiling faintly, and he was disappearing. Just then, Kyrie's voice rang out. Sora, where are you? The looming skyscraper dissolved into light. Once again, Sora squeezed his eyes shut in the glare. Sora, answer me! Riku called. Sora had vanished along with Xemnas, and neither of them was anywhere to be found. Where could Xemnas have taken him? Dread sat heavy in his chest, choking him, but Riku kept calling out. Just when we finally found each other, I was able to turn back into my real self. Sora, you can't leave me now. As Riku started sinking into despair, Sora materialized in the middle of the party, sprawled on the ground as if he'd fallen from somewhere. Sora! They all clustered around him. Shaking his head, he got up on his own. Where's Xemnas? No one could reply. He'd probably beaten him, although they couldn't be sure. Whack! Donald shouted in alarm, pointing up at Kingdom Hearts and its dark-stained light, and to Xemnas floating in the center of it.
Hear me, Kingdom Hearts. We must begin anew. Ah, but I will give to you as many hearts as it takes. Mark my words. You can no more be complete without me than I without you.
The light swirled around him in a terrible dance.
Oh, Kingdom Hearts, heed me. Lend me your power so that we may be complete. Power to eliminate the fools that stand in our way.
He said, as if pleading with someone dear to him. Kingdom Hearts shone brighter. Xemnas, no! King Mickey cried.
Hearts burning with rage, hearts racked with envy, hearts quavering with sorrow.
Xemnas intoned.
That old fool Ansem said the heart is beyond understanding, but it is not beyond mine. The heart is the source of all power.
Kingdom Hearts radiated more brilliantly still, and the light blazed forth. Sora and the others shielded their eyes, and when they could look again, Xemnas was gone. You can't hide from us, Xemnas! Sora shouted up at Kingdom Hearts. We can't let him get away now, said King Mickey. Sora and Riku knew he was right. Look at that! Kyrie pointed to a burst of brightness gathering below the great moon. It coalesced into an imposing door. Goofy squinted at it.
Gosh, what's that? Kingdom Hearts?
Murmured the king, gazing up at the door, which looked rather familiar. In fact, it was very similar to the door to the realm of darkness that Sora and Riku had helped him close. Let's go. Riku grimly followed the king's gaze.
Xemnas must be inside.
The worlds gave us this doorway, King Mickey added. They're entrusting their fate to us. Right, Sora nodded. Riku turned to him.
Once we go through, there's no going back. It's victory or oblivion. Well, Sora?
Of course, Riku had to know the answer he'd receive. Let's go! Sora replied with a nod. King Mickey and Riku were with him. The three stepped through the door, and each held his Keyblade high. 3 beams of light erupted, and the door opened. Get ready, Xemnas! It's over for you! Said Sora. They crossed through the door. Please, protect them. And the worlds. Wait, I want to ask the will of the worlds. What is it you want us to do? Why do you create us, the lost ones, the nobodies? Naminé was filled with questions as she watched over Sora and his friends. Beyond the door, the group found a bizarre, twisted world of glowing, nonsensical buildings. It felt like that first skyscraper. It was the center of this world, and Xemnas stood atop its bright core.
So, your hearts have led you to obliteration. Perhaps it's unwise to be too loyal to one's hearts. I'll have to remember that lesson.
Xemnas raised his hands, and the buildings began to shake and crumble. Heaps of debris crashed down in front of Kyrie and King Mickey, inches from their noses. "Kyrie!" Sora called out. "We're okay!" the king shouted back. "You two, keep going. I'll take care of Kyrie." "All right, we can do this!" Sora readied his Keyblade, and Riku did the same beside him, Way to the Dawn in his hand. Donald and Goofy had their wand and shield out. They had to run. The buildings kept collapsing, and even the ground was crumbling beneath their feet. "Come on!" Sora dashed ahead, jumping atop a falling facade and springing higher. The other three followed his lead. Yipe! Goofy nearly fell from an unsteady foothold. Riku reached out to grab his hand just in time. "Keep going, Goofy!" Donald glanced back to yell at him, but then he lost his footing on the slope too, and slid right into Riku, who snatched him up. Riku laughed under his breath. "For guys who tag along with a hero, you two sure are a handful." "Whack! Put me down! We gotta hurry!" Sora called back to them, reaching solid ground at last. Quack! Donald finally caught up, then Goofy, both making a spectacular landing right on top of Sora. "Why do you guys always do that?" Sora complained from beneath the heap. Riku smartly touched down beside them.
"Seriously, how did you three manage to survive this long?"
He stretched his shoulders and then charged toward the huge bright core ahead of them. Without giving Donald a chance to make the retort he was clearly devising, Riku smashed the core with a single blow. "Whoa!" Donald jumped, impressed enough to forget his gibe. "Nice work, Riku!" Sora dashed up beside him, and before their eyes, the core opened. Inside sat Xemnas, now outfitted entirely in gleaming armor.
"You fools!"
he cried, and myriad spears ranged themselves around Sora and Riku. No lances. They were the same as Zoldan's weapons. "Here goes, Sora!" Riku wasted no time rushing at Xemnas, and Sora was right beside him. And then something strange happened.
Huh? What's happening to me? Falling into darkness.
"Sora!" Goofy called. Sora's form was engulfed in a black substance. He hardly looked like himself anymore. More like a nobody. Sora dropped on all fours and pounced on Xemnas at an incredible speed, attacking ferociously. "What's going on?" Donald cried, anxiously clutching his wand. "Sora!" Riku called to the pitch-black thing shaped like his friend, the anti-Sora. Hearing his voice, it paused and turned back into Sora, the darkness washing away like a wave receding from the shore. What was that? Sora stared at his hands, but in the moment of his distraction, a water double of Demyx ran straight for him. "Look out!" At the last possible instant, Goofy knocked aside the Demyx double. Riku charged at Xemnas and slashed out hard with Way to the Dawn. Did we do it? Xemnas stopped moving and fixed a malicious glare on Sora.
"So, this is the strength of your hearts?"
"Sora, get him!" called Riku. Sora jumped as if suddenly remembering where he was, and then brought the Keyblade down. The terrible roar from Xemnas seemed to shake the world's foundations. A flash of light, a torrent of wind, a shockwave. Bit by bit, the armor dissipated, and Xemnas returned to his usual form. "Sora!" King Mickey and Kyrie caught up. As Sora held the Keyblade ready, Xemnas stumbled on his feet.
"I need more rage,"
he growled as he looked up at them.
"I need more hearts."
"Xemnas, there's more to a heart than just anger or hate. It's full of all kind of feelings," said Sora, trying one last time to persuade him. "Don't you remember?" Slowly, quietly, he turned to Sora.
"No, I don't."
Darkness seeped into the air around Xemnas, blotting him out. For some strange reason, he was smiling as he disappeared. And then he was gone, melted away into the dark. "We did it!" Sora hopped up in triumph. Donald and Goofy grinned at him. "Gosh, you fellas did great," said the king. But Riku began to distance himself as everyone celebrated. "Riku?" Sora turned to him uncertainly, then approached him. There was sadness in the set of Riku's shoulders. It made Sora worry. "You're coming back with us, right?"
"I'm corrupted," said Riku without even hesitating. "I gave in to the darkness."
He couldn't help but feel it was wrong for him to return to their pristine islands. How could he show his face to everyone when he'd helped destroy their precious home? The Destiny Islands, he'd seen it in dreams so many times, and yet he had a hard time believing that it would truly be right for him to be in that picture. The three of them on their island again, laughing together. "Riku!" Sora shouted after him, objecting to all the doubts in his head. Maybe Riku doesn't want to go home, Sora thought. But I don't want to go home without him. We promised Kairi. I want to run down the beach together again. There are so many things I wanted to do with him. Riku glanced back dolefully.
How can I face everyone there?
Sora squished his cheeks with his hands, making the silliest scrunched up face he could manage. Like this? Riku burst out laughing. Having achieved the goal of cheering him up, Sora gave him a smug grin. Actually, Sora lost his sword fights against Riku all the time, but he'd never lost a staring contest. Just as Sora was about to plainly tell Riku to come home with them, a rumble shook the world. Come on, hurry! King Mickey ran to the two of them. I'll open a path. Riku held up his hand to call up a dark portal, but nothing happened. What had changed that he could no longer open the way to the corridors of darkness? He stared at his hand in confusion. You don't belong to the realm of darkness anymore, Riku, said the king. He only kept looking down at himself.
If I don't belong in the darkness anymore, then I can't use its power.
Your Majesty, how are we going to get back? Donald cut in desperately. Then, feeling someone else's eyes on them, Sora and Kairi turned back. It was the flaxen-haired girl, Naminé. But she was transparent, as if she wasn't really there, or maybe halfway to vanishing. Silently, she lifted her hand, palm out, and opened a dark rift. Huh? Who opened that? Donald wondered, and as he stepped toward the rift, he passed through Naminé. King Mickey did the same, looking up at the rift, then apparently couldn't see her at all.
Dunno who it was, but we'd better hurry and get in.
Just as he said that, Pluto arrived from somewhere, running right up to him. Oh, hey! Whack! Donald started. Pluto ran in excited circles around Donald and the king, then jumped into the rift ahead of everyone else. Wait for me! Goofy scrambled after him, and then King Mickey followed too. Come on! Donald glanced back at Sora before leaping in. Naminé watched them go and faced Sora and Kairi with a warm smile. Kairi moved closer to her. Thank you, Naminé. Sure, she nodded, then gazed at Sora, into him. See? We meet again, like we promised. Sora could only respond, huh? Naminé's smile deepened. We don't cease to be, we just go back.
You said we'd meet again, but when we did, we might not recognize each other.
Sora heard the voice from somewhere. Mystified, he looked around, and then Roxas stepped forward, separating himself from Sora. Like Naminé, he was translucent, not entirely there. I did say that, didn't I? Said Naminé. I remember those things I frantically told Roxas when we were running out of time. The promise we made, I haven't forgotten. I never will. We'll meet again, and then we can talk about everything. I may not know it's you, and you may not know it's me, but we will meet again. I promise. I know we will. And even though we didn't recognize each other right away, here we are, meeting again. Can I take that as proof that I exist, even though I'm a nobody? We do exist in the fragments of others' memories. Roxas smiled softly. But I did know you. It's strange. Naminé returned the smile.
I think I understand, though. I can see myself the way you remember me, and you see yourself the way I remember you.
She nodded. The shards of what stays with us, those fragments of memory, they won't disappear. Even if the chains linking them together are broken, the memories don't die. I know that I had the power to line them back up, the pieces of memory scattered in the depths of the heart. So how could I have forgotten something so important? I understand that. I just couldn't remember. It's because I didn't want to remember. I didn't want to discover the secrets of the heart. I didn't want to unravel the mysteries of what a nobody is. I always thought that nobodies were doomed to fade back into darkness, Naminé murmured as her gaze dropped.
But you and I didn't,
said Roxas.
We got to meet our original selves. Maybe that's why.
Then she looked up and nodded brightly. so we can be together again.
Right. Anytime Sora and Kairi are together.
Sora stood close to Naminé as if he wanted to cling to her for an instant.
We won't disappear, and we'll be able to meet again. But the nobodies who did disappear, no. We'll be able to see Axel again, won't we? I want to believe that Axel returned somewhere. I won't give up that hope, just like Sora and Kairi never gave up.
And we'll be together every day, right, Sora? Said Kairi, peering at him intently.
Yeah.
Still not entirely following, Sora nodded anyway. But he didn't have to understand. As long as Sora was there, everyone would be happy. Naminé watched him with a smile. Kairi reached out to her. Without another word, Naminé took Kairi's hand in hers. She glowed, dissolving into light that went into Kairi.
What?
Sora burst out, startled, and stared with his mouth open. Roxas approached him.
Shh! Look sharp!
Startled again by his voice, Sora jumped and faced Roxas.
I've wanted to meet you for so long, Sora. I tried to leave the organization to meet you, and I wasn't wrong.
Roxas closed his eyes and turned his face up to the sky.
Will I see Axel again?
Then, like Naminé, Roxas was cloaked in light as he faded away and floated into Sora.
Huh?
Sora examined himself as if trying to figure out where the light had gone. Having watched the whole scene, Riku took a few steps closer.
Don't worry, it's all still you.
Those words didn't quite soothe his doubts. Sora stared at his hands. Guys, let's go home! Kairi called to them from in front of the dark rift.
Riku, come on.
Sora looked up at him. Riku nodded, but then the dark rift began to close on Kairi, blotting her out. Sora! Riku! She cried. They ran to her as the portal closed in front of their faces.
Kairi!
Not a trace remained in the empty air.
Oh no! Riku, what do we do?
Sora quickly turned to him in a panic, but a flash of brilliance blinded them.
Sora, look!
Gripping Wade to the dawn, Riku pointed to the darkness beyond, and in the distance, they could see something. A nobody shaped like an enormous silver dragon, heading straight for them.
Here it comes!
The dragon nobody hurled itself against the structure they stood on.
Riku!
Sora looked back at him again, and...
Is that Xemnas? He didn't disappear?
The dragon's tail lashed, and the floor beneath them tilted.
Whoa!
Before they could slide off and fall, Riku broke into a sprint and took a flying leap.
Riku!
He landed on a strange aircraft close by, a little glider.
Sora!
He called. The glider had a sidecar. Sora caught on and leaped for it. The glider sailed easily through the air, pursuing the dragon.
Nice, Riku!
Sora shouted over the wind.
Be quiet and hold on tight.
Riku warned him and accelerated faster. From up ahead, the dragon fired bullets of light at them. Riku tilted and dove to avoid the shots and catch up to the dragon's tail, close enough for Sora to take a swipe with his keyblade. The dragon lowered its tail, rising higher, and this time shot laser beams.
Get down,
said Riku, and Sora sank into a crouch. Dodging the lasers, Riku made a sharp turn, but one shot grazed the glider.
Uh-oh!
Sora covered his head as some pieces of the hull came off. The dragon passed above them.
Are you okay?
Asked Riku.
Yeah, actually, this is kind of fun.
Sora grinned as he got up again and readied the keyblade. Of course, he knew this was a battle for the fate of the worlds, but fighting something big and ferocious with Riku beside him, it brightened his spirits. And knowing that Riku felt the same way made him especially glad.
Of course you're enjoying this,
Riku remarked.
Riku, look out ahead!
The dragon had crossed into their path again. Riku fired the glider's own lasers onto its belly.
You're up, Sora!
At the cue, Sora sprang up atop the dragon and managed to deal it a blow.
Riku!
As he jumped back off, Riku was waiting with the glider, as if he already knew exactly where Sora would go.
This thing is tough,
Sora complained.
Well, it is our last enemy, right?
Riku's lips curled in a confident smirk, and he steered toward the dragon's head.
I'll hit it with lasers, and then you jump on it and attack its head, right?
Sora grinned at him.
Gotcha!
Riku fired the lasers, making the dragon flinch. As it lowered its massive head, Sora leaped on and smashed his keyblade into it. The dragon began losing altitude.
We got him!
Sora jumped back to the glider and threw his arms around Riku's neck.
Ack!
The momentum from Sora's hug knocked Riku into the control stick, and the glider spun around.
Oops, sorry.
Directly below them, the huge dragon Nobody was tumbling into darkness. The black storm swallowed up the dragon and then came for Sora and Riku, a misty wind swirling around them. And standing in the center of it, in the eye of the storm, was Xemnas. "Let's go!" said Sora. Riku nodded and steered the glider in through the buffeting gale. On reaching the eye of the storm, they disembarked from the glider. Xemnas greeted them with a cold smile. His black cloak was now white with swirling, jagged black patterns. He seemed vastly different from before.
Heroes of the realm of light, it will not end this way, not yet. If light and darkness are both eternal, then surely we beings of nothingness must be the same. Eternal.
Riku met Xemnas' portentous declaration with a stony stare. "You're right, darkness and light are eternal," he replied, his voice low. "Nothing probably goes on forever too, but guess what, Xemnas? That doesn't mean you're eternal!" Sora finished for him in a shout and took his stance with the Keyblade. Xemnas let out a deep, unsettling chuckle.
"Perhaps no more eternal than the radiance you two bear."
"We may not be eternal," Sora thought, "but we're not going to let you win!" So, the final battle was upon them.